Everybody, welcome back for another episode of the ABJ Podcast, episode 21, which is a great number for me as a former Washington. Well, I'm still a Washington fan, but they're not the same name. But 21 was my favorite football players team number, so that's pretty cool. Before we get into bringing our guest in, just wanted to give a quick shout out. And get rid of the housekeeping stuff. So below is the links for all of my stuff as well as my guests. Two injured wrestlers that are on the independent scene that mean a lot to me who recently just got through some injuries. So any support they can get, whether just following them on social media, sending them a message saying you care about them. They have subscription services as well as pro wrestling merchandise. All that is linked below. Go there, show them some support. We got great shows and stuff going on. So if you follow me on social media, find out where I'm going to be for the next couple months when it comes to wrestling shows of my commentary and stuff. I'm going to start doing some vlogs and stuff again, as well as merchandise for the ABJ podcast. So if you want to rock that, that'd be amazing. Stickers, hats, t-shirts, it's all available. It's all there. All that great fun stuff, as well as a Patreon. So if you guys want to jump into that Patreon, it'd be great. It's just general support right now. Little as $1, or you can go as big as you want if you're a baller. Live that dream. But all that goes to help grow the channel and pay for gas money and polls because, your boy travels to Jersey and New York and stuff. So all that helps out. But live chat is open. If it's your first time here, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. If you're watching on other platforms such as Twitch or Facebook, Twitter, the whole nine, you can jump over to YouTube because we just hit 500 subscribers, which is exciting. So we're on that quest to 1K. And all this, the video of this will also be available on all podcast platforms. If you want to listen to this in your car, you have a long car ride, throw the ABJ podcast on and listen along. We have tons of great interviews. We're booked for the entire month of February, so a lot of good stuff. And March is filling up quick, so definitely if you want to get involved, the links are below to be a guest on the podcast yourself. Does not have to be just professional wrestling. And it could be anything. You have a cool story to tell, or you have a topic you want to talk about. Let's get it in. But without further ado, I'm gonna bring my guest in, and I'm gonna let him introduce himself here because he's into it right now. Look at this.
Am I on?
You're on.
Oh, I'm on vacation right now. How are you? What's going on?
I'm doing great. What are you eating? A steak?
Yeah. What do you do on? That's what you do on vacation, right?
I think so. You eat steaks by the pool.
That's what you do on a vacation. Have you ever had one of these things, a crab cake and a real crab? Where is it?
It's a little dark. It's hard to see. The sun's directly on your camera.
Sun's
there you go.
A crab
you
cake?
just eat the whole shell. You just eat the whole shell?
Yeah, you eat the whole shell.
Oh. You're living large, man. Oh.
Well,
steak and crab by the pool?
Have you ever had a king cake?
A king cake?
Yeah, a king cake.
No, what's king cake?
It's like a big donut.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
You're killing it, my guy. Killing it.
I know. I'm going to go inside, though.
Do you have dipping sauce for the steak? Like, do you dip it in A1 or you just eat it? Do you eat it regular?
No, I just eat it how it is. What are you talking about? Dipping sauce.
I'm an A1 steak sauce guy. I can put A1 steak sauce on a dog turd and probably eat it. It's just good sauce. Oh, we just lost him. Oh, he's back. All right, there it is.
There it is. All right. Yeah, I'm in a condo in Alabama right now.
Alabama, be careful.
Yep.
That sounds like a scary state.
It is kind of a scary state, but you know what? I just did a wrestling show in Tennessee, and they hated me. As soon as I walked out, they hated me. It was like atomic heat. I didn't even say anything, and they were
just
pissed.
The look.
They were just mad that I existed.
I love that. Well, that's what you're going for, right?
I don't know what I'm going for because I'm just being myself, and people either really, really hate it or kind of like it. That's what I'm going through. I don't know.
Well,
it's weird.
Let's let the people know who you are. Let's introduce yourself properly.
Oh, I forgot. Yes. My wrestling name is High Pitch Will, but I'm kind of getting away from that. I don't know why I got that name. I don't know how I got the name High Pitch Will. It doesn't make any sense to me.
You have such a deep masculine voice. I don't understand where that came from. I think your camera frozen.
That's just what happened. I don't know. Yes.
Yeah.
But I was in XPW for a year, and now I'm kind of just doing independent stuff and trying to figure out what my next career move is. So I'm kind of I'm managing this guy Hardcore, who's out of Buffalo. He does death matches, But I have a couple other tricks up my sleeves, so I got some other exciting stuff hopefully happening soon.
Nice. So do you mostly just stay in the avenue of like a manager role?
Yeah, I was more just like a sidekick for Rob Black when I was in XPW. I actually did help him run the company. I actually had a lot of behind the scenes tasks. I was doing like, helping guys with airplanes and tickets and promos. I did like everything, a little bit of everything in XPW.
Which is all really good, valuable stuff when you go to carry on, because having that experience goes a long way. A lot of people don't realize that when you're in this business, sometimes you wear more than one hat,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, my favorite, out of character real quick, my favorite thing was kind of being a talent agent, helping younger guys get on the shows, working with some of the guys that, thought they were too old. I really like working with the guys that were not in their prime, you know what I mean? That was kind of my favorite thing about being involved in XPW.
Who are some of your talent that you kind of pride yourself on of giving them an opportunity to get some shine?
Well, right now, Judge Joe Dredd, Hardcore, those are some of the younger guys I got involved. Santana Jackson, I got on XPW. And even in the beginning, Schlack and G-Raver, those were guys I was like, you need Schlack, you need G-Raver, So a lot of and Necro Butcher too, Necro Butcher. The first time I was like, Rob, we need Necro Butcher. He was like, that guy, like, is he even still wrestling? I was, yeah, he's back. And I fought for Necro Butcher and just a lot of different guys that
him and Schlack are kind of like the big deals right now in XPW, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, and they run East Coast, and they're also on the West Coast too, right? They're
doing Newark, New Jersey, and Pomona, California. Yes.
Yeah. I follow a lot of that because a guy who I work for and employs me a lot in the New Jersey scene, Chad, is involved heavily with them now, and so I do get to see some of their stuff. I got to be honest, I it's hard for me to watch the deathmatch stuff just because it's just it's tough. It's a tough watch. I don't legit like watching people get hurt and go through things. And I know sometimes what wrestlers get paid or what wrestlers go through outside of professional wrestling. And then you watch someone take a light tube across the face and they're bleeding all over the place. And you're like, oh my God, that's insane.
And I would get nervous about the guys getting hurt all the time. And these guys just want to one up each other. And they're just like, oh, well, this guy did 200 light tubes. I want to do 400 light tubes. And they really just, they don't give a fuck. And I'm just kind of like, dude,
they don't.
I'm like, dude, no, like it's not.
And they're not gonna, they don't like, because in the business, their goal is to get that clip, that viral moment, to get seen, to get the next opportunity, to get paid more money. And they don't have regard for their own safety, and they're going to go out there and do something absolutely insane. So they have that moment. And for them, that's their dream. They don't care about the $1 million check. I mean, the $1 million check is cool for them, but the fact that people seen them do a crazy spot in a wrestling match that may or may not break a bone or cut themselves open really bad. And it's just like, it's hard for me to just like, like I've never done a full blown hardcore. I got close once at a show where it was like a light tube deathmatch style thing. And it was tough to call on commentary because the entire time, like, this is legit happening. Like they're sticking fish hooks in their mouth. Like,
And basically what it comes down to is every weekend is just who got hurt the most and who came up with like a new weapon. And that's what they're kind of chasing. And it is kind of scary.
Lawnmowers and weed whackers.
Yeah. And especially because light tubes they're going to stop making the light tubes. They're going to have to find new crazy shit. Like it might get worse. I don't know.
Someone needs to get into the sugar glass industry and start just really start pumping out sugar glass so it doesn't hurt.
They would hate that. They would hate that. They would hate the suggestion. They would hate that you even said
that. We want real glass.
Yeah,
with barbed wire and fire.
they want a light tube full of barbed wire that's on fire. That's what that's the next step.
I remember the one time they said the one company was like, hey, we're doing a barbed wire no rope match, like a barbed wire rope match. I'm like, gimmick barbed wire, right? And they're like, no. And I was like, all right. I said, remember the video of Sabu where his bicep fell out of his arm? Like that's what's gonna happen.
And I always get nervous because it always makes me, I always get nervous that somebody's going to get hurt on one of these shows because it doesn't take, I mean, like I get hurt all the time and I'm a big baby about it. You know what I mean? But imagine, I don't know. Yeah.
Now, that's kind of the one thing that, like, I guess sometimes when I'm working in Pennsylvania, I'm like, all right, at least I'm safe in Pennsylvania. You're not going to have that going on because the athletic commission is very strict. But then as soon as you cross that, you are now in Jersey. It's just like the Wild West, and you have no idea what you're coming into in a wrestling show on that side of the state.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And yeah, being that far away from home, too, that makes me nervous, too, you know. Yeah.
You know what? Honestly, I don't know if I ever talked about the podcast, but one of my biggest fears is driving, because you know, like people do the car rides, right? So you fill up a car full of people, and like you already get home super, super late. But what if somebody in your car like gets hurt and you're sitting at the ER for the next 4 or 5 hours? Like it's just like, oh, that sounds awful.
Yep. And that would definitely be my job, to sit in the ER with someone for 4 or 5 hours. Like I know that going into it. If someone gets hurt, I'm going to be the one freaking out and taking them to the hospital. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So now that you're not you're not involved in the XPW thing, and you said you're branching out, doing things, what are some of your goals that you're trying to accomplish now?
Well, I don't know if I want to give it away yet because I haven't announced it, but I have a big idea that I think will catch on and be important if I can connect all the right dots. You know what I mean? Absolutely. I got something cool planned that I don't think's ever been done before, and I'm excited about it. So you're gonna have to wait and see how this pans out, because I don't want to be the guy that's like, I'm building a monster truck, and then you check in a week later like, how's your monster truck? Oh, I got the tire.
Yeah. Don't talk about it until it's complete. I like that push right there. So the look and the character, how did this come about, and what are you going for this character and this look that you got going on?
Well, I've always been a punk since mid high school, so I really came into it looking how I look and being who I am. I did radio for years, and I did DJing and promoting shows way before I was in wrestling. So I've always kind of just been who I am, and then it just kind of worked for wrestling. So so that was kind of like just luck. I just kind of grew into this, and this was just the next step. And Rob just kind of found me. He was like, "You're weird. You've never been on wrestling before, but you're going to be my assistant. You're going to be funny on TV." And I go, "Oh, I can be funny on TV. Like that's probably the only thing I'm really good at is being funny on TV. So yeah, I'd love to be funny on TV. Yeah."
Yeah. I love the look. Like I said, the old punk look, and then you have like a little bit of like the bad guy or the comic relief in like an 80s movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a really good summary of who I am as a person on and off camera. And sometimes it gets annoying. I know I'm a very annoying person. I'm like the Gilbert Gottfried of wrestling. And I know that it's very annoying. And like I said, when I went out this show in Tennessee, as soon as I walked out, they hated that I was born. And and everyone backstage was like, this is a really good crowd. Like, because everyone there, no one's smart marking. It's just everyone thinks it's real, or they're just so happy to be at a wrestling show that, Necro Butcher and Hillbilly went out before me, and everyone was singing the USA song with them, and it was like Hulk Hogan.
Well, you're in Tennessee, and Necro Butcher walked out with a Trump hat on, so I'm sure it went over very well.
It was like Hulk Hogan came to like Rocky Top, Tennessee. He was so over it. And I walk out, and they just like, this fucking guy. They hated me. And then they were like, the guy backstage, Brad Cash, goes, "Well, you cut a promo, get some heat." And I was like, what could I possibly say to upset these wonderful people? And he's like, just say anything. Trust me. And I go, all right. And
You're
I was like,
the first human being they've ever seen use hair gel.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. So they go, we'll make fun of like a sports team. I go, oh, no, I don't make fun of sports teams. And then he goes, well, call them rednecks. I said, no, I don't want to call them rednecks. That seems cheap. So I go out there and I go, everybody told me not to come to Rocky Top, Tennessee. And then they start going crazy. I go, but I disagree with that. I think this is a nice place. You have a Wendy's up the street. You guys can eat like kings for $4.44. You should be proud to be from Rocky Top, Tennessee. Then there was no hard cams. I go, is this the hard cam? There's like some kid with a phone. I go, is this the hard cam right here? Of course you couldn't afford a hard cam, but that's okay. And the flyer said, bring your own chair. So I go, well, I see that all of you brought your own chair. And I'm really impressed that you could read the flyer well enough to know to bring your own chair. And someone was like sitting on like a bin of like the thing like you keep like Christmas ornaments in or whatever. And I go, this person brought the bin that they keep their Christmas ornaments to sit in. You could fit 3 people on that thing. You guys should be proud of yourselves.
You brought a bench.
And I couldn't even get the words in. People were so mad. Like,
I love it.
Yeah, it was like atomic. Yeah.
That's something I might be leaning into going into this year, is doing a little more heel. I've been playing a little more of the heel role on commentary, especially in Jersey. I'm always trash in Jersey on commentary. And it's fun. It's fun playing the bad guy sometimes.
Yeah, when I first did the first couple XPW appearances, they were booing me, but then they kind of learned to like me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then towards the end, they were cheering me. But like in the beginning,
when you start getting really funny, that's when people are like, "Oh man, that's what that's like." Like when I go to Jersey, I'm always making fun of. I go for the cheap heat on commentary, but no one's really listening to commentary unless they listen to the show back. And then when people message me like, "Yo, I listened to the show and you were very entertaining," it's like, "Oh, well, thank you. That means a lot." But and then I have other I feel like I'm doing a decent job when wrestlers are like, "Yo, I want to work an angle with you," where like we rival. Like a wrestler, I'm just saying right now, I don't take bumps and I don't wrestle. So if your payoff is me taking a bump, it's never going to happen. I'm not Bobby Heenan out here. But the fact that they want to engage with me because I'm decent at talking trash on commentary, so that's kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good. That means you're doing a good job. Yes, because wrestling really isn't. You really realize the people that get over the most are like when you come out to a cool theme song, or when you look a certain way. Like you can take all the bumps in the world, but you have to entertain.
What song do you come out to?
I just came out to a bunch of noise because my first character was like a noise artist.
Yeah.
So I just come out to like
it's like the beginning of like Mick Foley and Razor Ramon, like tire screeches and smashing and.
Yeah, but it's worse than that. It's real annoying. Like it's bad.
I've never got to come out to music because I'm a commentary guy, but I always joke around like if you ever have commentary music, I want "Let's Hear It for the Boy."
Yes,
that really cheesy song. I think it's from like Footloose.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of those dance movies. Yeah.
If you ever went to like a Raw or like a SmackDown, the amount like JR and Jerry Lawler came out to their theme song, so maybe you should push for that.
And Pat McAfee's, he's becoming bigger, so he's getting music when he comes out. He got a whole entrance at the Rumble. Commentary's changing for people, especially commentary people who break in that aren't from the wrestling business, who break in because of like content creating. So he's getting a good path for people like me. But So one of the things I guess we kind of have a little bit in common is just from you said music before wrestling, and that's kind of where I got into. I was helping with a band. I was a little bit of, like just a local cover band, and I have a few buddies who do some cool things. But it's so crazy how much the independent music scene, bouncing from bar to bar and dive bar to dive bar and event and gig to gig, is so similar to independent wrestling. And the more gimmicky, weird shit you do, the more you're going to get booked as a band. So people are doing weird, funny things.
Absolutely, yes. I booked punk shows and a couple like small punk fests for years. I always just liked being a wrestling fan because I knew it was going to be stressful. I knew it was going to be like that, but almost like kind of worse. You know what I mean? So I always was like, I just like being a wrestling fan. And I do still kind of miss being a wrestling fan because there was a lot less to worry about. And you just left as soon as the show was over. You know what I mean?
Well, we do have a question in the chat. If there's any questions that pop up you don't want to answer, you don't have to. But we have Rico here says, how is Rob Black successful? What is with his personality and all? Now he's a very polarizing figure. There has been documentation of Rob Black stories and dark sides and stuff like that. That's out there,
Yes. Okay, so he is successful because he doesn't give up. He is not a quitter. I mean, he is persistent. He will shove himself down your throat until you just accept it. I think that's how he's successful. He doesn't give up. He doesn't go away. He backs up what he says he's gonna do, and yeah, he's that's how he's successful.
How was it working with him when all that stuff was like? I mean, the stories are ages old, and now they kind of get resurfaced with new age storytelling and documentaries and stuff. How did you guys, as a company in XPW, navigate through those waters?
He just kind of just keeps trekking along, and he just keeps pushing. He just keeps pushing and pushing and pushing, and he just he knows people hate him, and he accepts that. And I think he likes that people hate him. He gets off on the hate. And he doesn't care what people say on the internet. He made a shirt that says "fuck Rob Black." He sells a shirt that says "fuck Rob Black." So he definitely gets off on the controversy.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to lean into it, is just dive head first, right?
I don't even know. Because I would try to be like, maybe we should, not do this or not do that. Maybe people will freak out on the internet about this. And he was just like, I don't give a fuck them. And I'm just be like, okay.
I guess the company that he's established, and it's not really a people pleasing company anyway. You guys are going to do what you do and go down that route. You know what I mean? It's like you're gonna push the envelope. You're gonna do things that people are gonna be like, "Oh, was that a good idea?" And that's kind of what they lean into. And if they came out and apologized for everything, they wouldn't have that edge.
And the scary kind of thing is that there's people that want that. They really want offensive angles. They really want that late 90s shock value that I don't think works today. You know what I mean?
Springer wrestling is what I like to call it.
Howard Stern wrestling is what I'm going to call it.
And even Howard changed.
Even Howard changed, but Rob didn't. But yeah, it's that very late 90s culture that I am kind of like, dude, oh, come on, man. Like, this is not cool. Yeah.
I said when this cancel culture stuff was getting in, like, listen, I'm not 100% against it. I think there are some people out there who needed to be called out, who needed to be addressed, who need to change the way they do things. And there's certain things in this business that we should not allow anymore. And there's certain things that shouldn't go down in this business anymore. And people should be treated with respect. And if they're not comfortable, they should be able to speak up. So in that aspect, I'm all for cancel culture. But then it got to a point where, like, you couldn't talk about certain things. You couldn't do jokes about certain things. These certain things were taboo to talk about. And I said, this is only going to last as a society and as a culture so long. And then people are going to revert back really hard on it. And it's going to be popular again. Because once you tell someone they can't do something or say something, or there's going to be that one person who's going to do it, and then it's going to pop.
Or just everybody's canceled, so there's nobody left. So it's just all canceled. People like, I can do whatever the fuck I want now because I'm already canceled. That's what I think. I see a lot of that, especially.
That's kind of what's happening in wrestling now. A lot of people who were canceled are just coming back out, and they're like, hey, we're here. If this guy can do it, and this guy can do it, and this guy can do it, and Vince McMahon is allowed to do it, you know what I mean? Like, what do we like? You're gonna not promote my business, but you're gonna go to WrestleMania this year, and all my stuff's public, and Forbes talks about it, and no one's saying a word, and people are taking a paycheck from me. It's hard to justify it. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And back to this, a lot of the fans that really embrace the bad parts of it, those are some scary, weird people. And a lot of the wrestling fans are just, nothing in XPW is blatantly racist, but a lot of the fans are just really catching on to the mega MAGA shit and just the type of people
for the wrong reasons. They're catching on for the wrong reasons. Yeah.
And I was seeing a lot of that, and that was just kind of like very cringe to me. And it was like, I'm not comfortable with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's definitely fair. That's kind of what happened a lot with me. Like, opportunities come for companies. I said, I'm not sure yet. Like, I'm not sure if I'm ready to dive into that because, like, I'm not opposed of. I'm a fan of comedy. I'm a fan of stand-up. I'm a fan of this, and I know sometimes you're not like they don't want you to. I'm a fan of hardcore horror movies, and there's some people who say that there's certain things that shouldn't be done in horror movies, and I say like that's what kind of makes it a horror movie, you know. That uncomfortableness, that moment where you don't feel okay with what you're watching, is kind of what makes that product good. And hard to watch in certain aspects. So I definitely see how places in professional wrestling have that, but it's just like, are you willing to put your stamp on it is what it comes down to.
Exactly. And I mean, I didn't quit XPW, you know what I mean? I wasn't gonna go anywhere. I'm not saying like I'm not saying I was uncomfortable or it was bad. I'm just there were things that I was just like, oh, really? And I would speak up, and someone would be like, why do you got to be like that? What are you going to, and they would shut it down. They shut down things real quick. And also when something goes too far, they go, oh, it's fake. You know what I mean? And I'm like, not really. Like, how is like, it's fake when you want it to be fake. It's real all the other times. You know what I mean? It was very just like pulling the wool over people's eyes to get away with what they want. Going on.
Yeah. No, and that happens more times than you'd like to admit in the professional wrestling world, not just that company alone, you know?
Yeah.
So, what exactly, we'll kind of rewind the clock here. You said you've always been a wrestling fan. What was that moment? What was that thing in professional wrestling growing up that you've seen? You're like, oh, this is for me.
That's a great question. I loved the theatrics. I loved the characters. I loved the humor. I loved all the goofy shit. I loved all the goofy 90s characters in the early 90s. And I just liked the entertainment of it. And then when Ring of Honor came out, and I was like, whoa, these guys are really good athletes. And these guys are they can be funny, and they can really be athletic, and they can really fight. And that's when I was kind of like, okay, there's more to just the funniness and the entertainment. This is a real like sport, you know what I mean? So it was so Ring of Honor really made me fall in love with it more than I'd been before. I was a huge fan my entire life, but I just kind of saw it as a fun kind of thing to watch until then. Yeah.
So you went from watching guys be like everyday occupation workers or like truck drivers and dumpster garbage truck collectors to like, oh, they can do that, but as well as be like insane athletes on the ROH side. Who's an ROH talent that you've seen that like, oh boy, this is like this is jarring that they're clearly different, a breed of different wrestler?
Dude, everybody on that roster the entire time, you could send a guy like Matt Hardy there and he'd be different. You know what I mean? Ring of Honor, every match on the card from beginning to end was like real. Like it's the realest wrestling I'd ever seen in my life. It was like something about the Ring of Honor shows, just every match, every guy in the roster was just not like anybody else in any other company. And you see like when like Cesaro goes to WWE, you see that, but it's just there was something magical. There was something magical about Ring of Honor that just brought out something in every wrestler that I don't know. And that really made me be like, Ring of Honor, like everyone says, like my favorite wrestling company was this or that. My favorite wrestling company, my favorite time in wrestling was the early Ring of Honor stuff, because that's when I was, turning 18 and could drive around to shows, and that's when I first started traveling to wrestling shows, and that's when I really fell in love with wrestling, was that early Ring of Honor stuff, and all the way through Ring of Honor stuff.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of paved the way for what we watch now in professional wrestling. Like I've said numerous times on this show as well, like, listen, I know people love what's mainstream and what's popular, but if you like wrestling right now and you're saying like, hey, maybe the storylines are lacking, but talent-wise, wrestling is better now than it's ever been in ring-wise because of who's around. Absolutely. Those people can still work really fun angles if you let them do it, because they came from the ROHs, they came from the Jakaras, they worked the CZWs and GCWs. Like the Northeast wrestling scene is flooded with just amazingly talented people, and all but maybe 6 people that are on TV right now all came from this area. They're all born and bred Jersey, PA, Delaware, New York, Connecticut wrestling, even up to Boston wrestlers. And it's insane. Like I think Lesnar, Roman, and like Ronda Rousey and Charlotte. I mean, like just like a handful of the top people are the only ones who didn't really come from this system, and everybody else, especially on the AEW, the NXT, like are all from this area, and they've been grinding, and it's kind of cool to see like people who if you go back in the history books and look, they've all came from those ROHs. Like shit, ROH is essentially what made NXT Black and Gold the most successful brand on television. And then
100%.
NXT turned into AEW, and you know what I mean? It was just it was crazy.
Yeah. And most of them are like my age. I don't know how old you are, but it's like these are guys my age, like killing it and just like doing things that you never thought wrestling. It changed pro wrestling, and that's how probably people a little bit older than me look at ECW. Like this changed wrestling, but I was a little too young when ECW was around. So Ring of Honor is like this is what changed wrestling. This is what made wrestling cool to me.
I remember people saying to me like, "Oh, I rather watch ECW because it's legitimately real." And I was like, and then I remember because I was even younger, I was kind of a smarter fan. I was like, it's still definitely wrestling, but no, they're definitely sticking each other with sharp objects and legit making themselves bleed. And I was like, this is crazy.
Oh yeah, and I love ECW, but and I'm a big ECW fan, but
we've been going back and watching some old pay-per-views, and some of that stuff. It's tough to watch. Listen, I love ECW and I don't want to ruin it for people, but some of those people were not good in the ring. But they were crazy.
It was sloppy, and they were doing things that had never been done before. Yeah. So like what are the different ways you can put someone through a table? Let's Sabu try whatever he wants to do, and it was
there was definitely bright people in ECW that definitely, and they would do crazy things that would definitely outshine when people weren't very good. Like there's a few tag team matches are like the undercard matches where like they couldn't throw punches, they like their footwork was off. It was just go in there and brawl. You know what I mean? Like
yep, I mean, we all know that there was a lot of drugs and alcohol and that type of shit going on in ECW, and that you can tell when somebody's like fucking hammered out there, and they're trying some sloppy, dangerous shit, like. But they were.
That's kind of happening in wrestling now. Is everyone's trying to be the new ECW, and let's do that edgy, and then we don't care what happens backstage, or it's like controversy sells tickets, and you're like, ooh, I mean that's kind of stuff that should have been left in the past, like unprotected head chair shots and stuff. It's like that's rough. Rico with another one here. Do you think fans are turning the wrestling business doing a monopoly more of the major companies only supporting mainstream promotions and even more talking shit about the other companies? I would say yes and no, but I think the independent scene is bigger now than I think it's ever been ever.
I think so too. I'm going to say no because I mean, obviously I'm in deathmatch promotions, but I don't see anyone most of the people I know don't watch WWE or even AEW at this point. Only if someone we know is going to be on AEW do we watch AEW. And I don't know who the hell was in the Royal Rumble when I watched it, and half the guys I didn't know who they were.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely watch a mix of both, but I think the independent scenes now is so it's a lot easier to find it's easier to watch independent wrestling than it is Impact and it is the New Japan. You know what I mean? Like you can literally go to IWTV and subscribe, and there's hundreds and thousands of wrestling promotions that are independent all over the world for one low price. Now you can get GCW on Fight Plus, and then GCW with Fight Plus is going to get you House of Glory and all these other independent wrestling promotions that are on there, like your PPWs and everything. Like, and then YouTube, people have their entire catalog on their YouTube channels. It's independent wrestling is not hard to find, and a lot of the people you are watching on TV that's outside the WWE system are still putting matches on, even though they're signed to other companies out in the independent scene.
Yep. So I don't. Yeah. So I'm going to say no to that question. And there's so much I don't think anyone could keep up with the wrestling today.
It's impossible.
I don't see how anyone could.
Yeah. I try, and I just try with mainstream stuff. Like you have Raw on Monday, Tuesdays NXT, Wednesdays AEW, Thursdays like Impact if you're into it, and then Friday you have a SmackDown and AEW again, and then the weekends it's just filled with independent stuff. It's hard to keep, and then you have NWA that's still there. You have GCW, like it's just packed full of stuff.
Yeah, I remember when there used to be three. Remember when there used to be 3 Star Wars movies? And you kind of, and you, if you were an enthusiast, you could know all the characters, and there were a lot of characters with 3 movies. You know what I mean? But you'd have a book and with pictures of, or you'd have all the action figures. You go, there's hundreds of Star Wars characters just from these 3 movies, and I think I can have a grasp on it. Then 3 more movies came out, and you kind of were like,
and they're based on, like, you remember that one movie where the guy stood in the background with the cool helmet? He has his own movie. You're like, wow.
And now you couldn't keep track of all the characters or even all the stories now. And it kind of, I feel like that happened kind of quick. Maybe I'm getting old, but that happened kind of fast. And I think wrestling is doing the same thing. You used to be able to keep up with all the wrestlers and all the companies. And some of the weird companies even too. You could keep up with it, but I don't think anyone could keep up with it today.
Yeah. So you said you're kind of branching out, working in different states. What are some other promotions that people should keep an eye on, or some talent that's out there that you're pretty proud of that you're seeing out there now, besides the one you just mentioned earlier?
Right. Well, I'm managing Hardcore. He is a deathmatch wrestler. He's kind of like Wolverine. It seems like he likes the pain. It doesn't hurt. Like he's a wild character, and so him and I are going to be going to Detroit for. Well, hold on. We're going to Detroit.
I love how that was just in your little pocket.
We're going to Detroit March 18th for True Wrestling Underground, and that's a no-ring deathmatch show. And Chuck Stein's going to be on that. I have an eye on him. Basically, any wrestler that's a punk, I have my eye on. And that's part of the big plan that may be happening. But I'm keeping an eye on all the punk wrestlers that exist in the world, not just in my area.
So one of my favorite shows that happen every year, and GCW is bringing it back this year, and I'm sorry if this offends you. I like all genres of music. I wouldn't consider myself as much as punk as I used to, because I have branched out into so many vast different styles of music. But I get really excited for the GCW emo shows. And emo is just sad boy punk. But we need more punk rock. Like, could you imagine a punk rock band shows up? Just give them a small little corner because they're used to it. They play a couple songs, and a wrestling match happens or two. That intermission, they go and play a couple more, and just and it's perfect for those no ring deathmatch bar shows. Like that Peace Underground. That's the first show I ever seen that there was no ring, and they just fought on a stage, and Effie and Poirot just killed each other. And you know what I mean? It's like that would be perfect for the punk rock scene. Like, people would eat that shit up.
Absolutely. Casanova Valentine is doing stuff like that, where a punk band, and there'll be like 2 matches. So he's got his finger kind of on the pulse of that happening, and I'm a big fan of his, obviously. And so I think punk and wrestling, because when you go to the shows, most of the people are dressed kind of punky, and I include emo in that, but mostly there's a very alternative crowd. The type of people that like the deathmatch no ring shows are an alternative bunch. And I think when I started like proposing like that to like Rob, he was like, punk is dead, or punk is not cool. And I was kind of like, look at the audience, you know what I mean? Like, it's guys and girls my age or younger that are wearing leather or patchy jackets and stuff. Like, this is who likes this type of shit. And it's not even that I want to make $1 million off of them. I want them to feel like this is my product. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think for me, anyways, what the reason I'm grasping on so hard to it is I love independent. I love independent everything. I love that little guy taking down the big guy, or the little, and that's punk. That's, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people, how we're saying earlier, like maybe are leaning a little too hard in the storylines, and maybe the people who are not putting on the storylines are who they are portraying, but the people who are buying into it, maybe that crowd, and that does get uncomfortable. But I think a lot of people see like heavy metal and punk and emo and deathmatch wrestling, and they immediately think of one style of person. But if you look at like No Peace Underground, it looks like a really hardcore, I don't know if I want to be involved in that scene. And they're the most open community to LGBT, to like every genre of person. And that's punk too. Like, people look at a punk guy and they're like, oh, he's probably a skinhead racist, but that's the complete opposite of what punk stands for and everything it's about. I always say, like, I have friends who like grew up they got me into hip hop, and I got them into punk. And I said the only difference between a band is you have a kick drum and we have a real drummer, but the message is still the same. It's poverty white kids and poverty black kids trying to get out of a system and fighting against the establishment. And it's the same message, just two different ways of going about it. But it's neat. And like you said, like, I think that's where your deathmatch and your metal scene and your punk scene and your hardcore scene are all have the same mentality. And some of the best wrestling shows that I experienced in 2022, or even seen in the scenes of stuff I didn't go to, was when they mixed breweries with wrestling, when they mixed music with wrestling, when they mixed Comic-Cons with wrestling, because you bring in that outside audience who not normally wrestling fans, and it's some of the best fans ever. Like they buy into what's going on, and they're better than wrestling fans sometimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I do the Punks Picnic in Rochester every summer, and it's just like 10 punk bands, and it's in a park, it's outside. And Rob was like, let's do a death match there. And I was like, I don't know, man. These people haven't seen anything like that before. I don't want it to get out of control, because usually there's a fight or two just in general at the Punks Picnic. And I was like, some of these people might not know what's going on and just start fighting. You know what I mean? I don't know. And he's like, no, let's just do it. So I go, all right, fine. So I had Body and Green Phantom come in from Canada. And we did all the tubes and all the weapons and stuff. And I would say 85% of the people there had never seen anything like that before. And they ate it up and they loved it. And it went really well. And the video got shared a million times, because there's only punks standing around. There's like motorcycles parked out there and shit, and just
I love it.
People are just really like, what the fuck is this? Like, where is this? What is this? Rochester, New York? What the hell is going on in Rochester, New York? You know?
Yeah.
And it was Green Phantom, who people really hadn't seen too much of in a while, and Hardbody was still Hardbody. It was kind of before he started blowing up a little bit. So just two kind of guys breaking light tubes over each other's heads and jumping off of picnic tables and stuff. And people were just like, holy fuck, like, this is amazing.
Yeah, what the one show I went to was Deppin's Brewery, Tony Deppin's Brewery in downtown Pottsville. They have like 3 city blocks roped off, and it's just filled with beer tents. And in the very middle of the street, they had a wrestling ring, and they put wrestling on. Dude, everyone's like stopped, grabbed beer, and then went back to the ring and enjoyed it. Like, and they're not wrestling fans. They were there for craft beer, and we're like, who cares about wrestling? And everybody really put in, like, they let their inhibitions down. They played into the characters. They were heckling. They were like, dude, suck. Like, and they knew that, like, they knew what was happening, but they were having fun while they were doing it. And it was honestly one of my favorite wrestling moments. I think going into this year, I think branching into those audiences is more things that wrestling promoters should do. Is like, I don't think this will work because we've never done it before. I'm telling you, bring outside wrestling fans in, and they will be your new fans, and they will get into it. And it makes people who are there that are wrestling fans have a better time, because they're like, they're getting into it. Like, this is fun. Like, it's really a good time.
Oh, absolutely. And there's just and I hate to say this, but people that have been in the industry for a long time, they get kind of stuck with, this is how things have to be. And as someone who is a fresher face, and I'm working with some fresher faces, they're like, no, we can do this different. And maybe it'll be cooler if we do it different. You know what I mean? And sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, but the guys that have been doing it for longer are less likely to take the risks. And whereas I'm just like, I don't expect to be doing this in 10 years. You know what I mean? So I don't have as much to lose as someone that's like, I'm in this forever. Whereas I'm like, if they told me tomorrow, get the fuck out of here, I'd be like, oh, all right, I'll do something else.
Have a good run.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Another one that was fun was a brewery show. Is for Avery Good's last match, and they did a like an 8-man or 4-man scramble, or a 4-man a trios tag, I think it was. I don't remember, but it was Ultramanus Black and like the Outsiders all went against each other, and Ultramanus came down to the ring. And then he like looked over and he just went like this, and his band just started rocking out. And for the first 15 minutes of the match was just them wrestling to his band going crazy, just making noise. It was, and everybody was like, this is fucking awesome. Yeah. Like, I was like, this should happen more. Like, because I think what happens is wrestling tries to put it in music and they don't do it right. Hence Royal Rumble. Let's just put this guy in the middle of the ring and have him be the spectacle in the ring. Like, no, people are coming to see what's happening in that ring. Put music on the stage and let it happen. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta. It's not. It cannot not be done. Like, people just see those moments of Mania and it ruins it for everybody because you're like, oh, they just played the wrestler out. But like, there's other ways you could do it without stunting the wrestling show.
Absolutely. And I mean, we still talk about the Misfits having 3 matches in WCW. You know what I mean? Like, and they weren't good, and they had 3 matches, and they weren't matches against anybody famous, but we still talk about that. You know what I mean?
Someone in the chat here said, is it true that Courtney Love's lawyer contacted you during a live stream?
Is that true?
They're not asking me. Are they asking you?
Oh, yes. Courtney Love's lawyer, but we're cool. It's fine. Don't.
Oh.
Yes,
I don't want no smoke from Courtney Love. I heard some things.
No, we're tight. We're friends. We're tight. It's okay. Yes, we're friends. Courtney Love and I go way back. It's fine. No big deal. But yes, I did get a message from the lawyer.
Oh boy. Is there more to that you can dive into, or are you just leaving that one alone?
Well, when you're dealing with a lawyer, Anthony, you don't you don't mess with the lawyer no matter what. Even if they're not a good lawyer, you don't mess around.
Listen, Courtney Love's first album is still to this day a banger, you know.
I don't have anything bad. Legally, I can't say anything about it.
Yeah. We're going to leave it at that because, like I said, I don't want Courtney Love smoke.
You don't want that.
This person said they fought Courtney Love in a bar. That's scary, man. I wouldn't. Like I said, I don't want Courtney Love smoke. She's like the Dawn.
Oh, I know. Okay, so way before I was in the scene, Courtney Love came to Rochester, and she stage dived at a bar, and someone took the wedding ring that Kurt Cobain gave her, took it, and Kurt Cobain had like just died like a couple years before that.
Oh no!
So she flips the fuck out, gets on the mic. She's like, who has the ring? I mean, maybe the ring just fell down a sewer grate. You know what I mean? We don't know what happened to the ring. It could have just fallen off. So she gets on the mic and she's like, who took the ring? And everybody's kind of like, I don't know. And she started like attacking people. That happened in Rochester.
I don't hate her for it. I would be honest.
Why? She was like a shit. She was like a fucked up.
I'm sure she was definitely not in the right state of mind either, but she's just lost, one of our greatest people that ever lived on this planet. I love me some Kurt, but yeah. Crazy.
The ring was never discovered. It was never, no one ever took the blame for it. I could have maybe she never had I don't know. We don't know what happened. As the story goes locally, people just like, she came, she acted crazy, she attacked it'll be like, oh, she attacked blah, blah, blah. You know them. I go, oh, yeah. Oh, she attacked them. That's a nice person, you know. So she was attacking people and just going crazy in Rochester. That's the urban legend. But that's why her lawyer's on the chat.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not I could definitely see how that left to issues, but
yes.
I'm not really. If she looks down and that's a prized possession, and it's gone, that's going to trigger anybody, especially around that time, But all right, we are getting close to the end of the moment. If anyone has any more questions, please get them in there. But I have a question for you. So we usually do like a draft, but we're not going to do a draft. I'm just going to ask you personally. I'm going to give you 5 albums. You have to pick 5 of your favorite punk albums. If people in the chat here are going to say, hey, I need something new to listen to or something new to discover, what are your 5 desert island punk rock albums? Now I'm putting you on the spot. I know there's no prep to this.
You should have let me write this down ahead of time. Well, the Dead Boys record, the number 1 Dead Boys record. Can I just say like best of CDs?
Yeah,
or best
absolutely.
Of?
Yeah. Or bands. You can just say bands that people can explore.
Yeah. Buzzcocks, Dead Boys. Buzzcocks, Dead Boys, Damned. Buzzcocks, Dead Boys, Damned. I'm not going to say the Cramps. I'm not going to say the Ramones.
Not going the mainstream punk.
Trying to think now. That's too hard, buddy. But here's what I'm going to tell you. I subscribe to a lot of YouTube pages that just post like whatever new punk comes out, and they update it like every day or something. I'll link you to that, or whoever cares. If anybody cares, there's a couple YouTube pages. I listen to like something new 2 or 3 times a week, and then I'll be like, oh, that's cool, or like, oh, that's not so cool.
The chat's blowing up with punk bands. I love this.
Yes. So basically, I can't see the chat. What are people saying? I'm zoomed in.
Best playing songs of 77, Search and Destroy, DWI, DRI, GHB, The Casualties, The Business.
Yeah, that's a great list. That's a wonderful list. But I'll link you to the.
My buddy Pete just put me onto a band. They're like Green Day, but they're Irish. They're like all Irish dudes or Scottish dudes, but they sound a lot like old school Dookie Green Day. If Pete, if you're still watching, tell me in the chat what that band was. But if you closed your eyes and didn't know what you're listening to, you would think you're listening to Green Day. But they were really, really entertaining.
This is a friend of yours told you about this?
We listened to them on the way to on the way to a show. He's like, because I told him how I like Green Day, and he's like, you ever listen to this band? They're like a Scottish version of Green Day.
Isn't it nice to have friends like that will show you new music? Those are the best friends.
It's my favorite.
If you have a friend like that shows you new music, that's the friend you got to take out to dinner. That's the friend you got to, I don't know, buy drinks for.
This might be the band here. It might be. I don't know. Kimberly Stakes.
I haven't heard of that, but I'll check that out.
Maybe I don't know if that's it or not.
Well, let me know, or let the people.
Kimberly Stakes, yes, Kimberly Stakes. They're a Scottish/Irish, whatever they are. Green Day. They sound like Green Day. They're like a 3-piece band. They're really good. The drummer's fantastic, but you could definitely hear when he's singing. He's definitely Scottish or Irish. It's really, really good. But
I like that. And I saw Flogging Molly last year, and I was never a Flogging Molly fan. I went to see them live, and I thought that was amazing. They put on a really good show. And like, it's not
Guar for the first time.
Seeing Guar is like the best thing ever. Did you get awesome. All covered in blood and stuff?
So I have a little bit of the reason I don't take bumps and do stuff in wrestling. I have a joint disorder, so I have hypermobility problems. So I would probably get into a pit and get knocked down or dislocate a knee or an ankle or a shoulder, and then my time would be not having fun anymore. So I stayed up in like a VIP section because my buddy opened for Guar. They were called Crowbot, so they invited us to the show. And we were up in the VIP area, but all my other friends went down and enjoyed the pit. So I had a friend who wanted me to have a Guar experience. So I bought the white shirt. She put it on, went in the pit, got it all fucked up for me, and brought it back and gave me my Guar shirt. But they were fun. They were fun live. They were sticky. I love sticky stuff, like the character, the backstories. Like Ghost is another band I really like, just because of the backstories and the stuff they like the pro wrestling aspect of it. It's fun.
Yep. If I had been there for the Guar show with you, I would have got a glass of the blood and brought it up to you and dumped it on you to help you with the experience.
That would have been cool. Yeah.
We can still do that sometime.
I literally just drank beer and enjoyed the show and had a great time. I had a really fun time. I thought they were a very fun, entertaining band.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they were definitely interesting. And I went into Guar. I knew of Guar like through CKY and Bam Margera and that kind of stuff, but I never really like sat down and listened to full albums. And then we went to the show, so I went in with like no expectations. So like when I seen Guar, it was like seeing Guar for the first time. Like I didn't watch anything live they've ever done because I wanted to experience what they were, and it was definitely if you've never seen Guar or even if you have, just go see them again. They're a really fun time.
A friend of mine got to go to the workshop where they build all the costumes and all the props and shit. I'm really jealous.
So my buddy opened for Guar, and then my other buddy did backstage for Guar. So he was in charge of the tubes and hitting the pumps and stuff. Like that was his job. So then he did that for them. And now on this tour, he's with Anthrax. He's on tour with Anthrax right now.
Wow. Okay.
So he gets like, and he's like a guitar tech too. So he's like a jack of all trades. Like he can go, he's probably one of the best guitar players. I'm not just blowing him up. Like he could be like top 10, top 15 guitar player in the world, but he's also such a good handyman when it comes to set building and guitar teching and anything lights, sound, he can do all that. So he just gets jobs in the music industry doing cool shit. Yeah.
Imagine having talent like that. I'm not really good at anything. I don't know. I'm not really good at anything. That's remarkable. I'm always trying to be friends with people that are talented like that and can do things like that. Because
My buddy opened for Gwar. They did. Look up the band Crowbot. That was the band that opened for Gwar. It was Crowbot, and then who was the other band they opened? They were really good. Necro, Gobblegon, or whatever. I don't know. It's like a punk band, but a guy gets on stage dressed as a goblin and he just dances around like a hype man.
That sounds
There's a
great.
goblin
That
on
sounds like something I want to see.
It's fucking amazing. And then like they give the little goblin guy like a ukulele and he acts like he's shredding on it, but he's really not playing it at all. But it's just like it's a goblin hype man, and the rest of the band is like a normal band.
That's exactly what I want to see in a show. That's exactly what I want to
blast. It was so much fun. But yeah, if anyone's a fan of Steel Panther, Crowbot's actually going to be on tour with them as of right now. I think they're on tour. So there it is, Necro Gobblecon. That's exactly who they are. He nailed it.
All right, perfect.
Yeah. And the cool thing about that is the guy's in costume as a goblin, and then pro wrestling gets off stage, and then people line up to get their photo with the come in the ring and get a photo with the goblin, and they make bank. I love it. It was my favorite.
I love that. Can you sit on his lap for Christmas? Sit on his lap for Christmas. Tell him what you want. That's where the real money is.
Appreciate you, Dylan Quinn, for the subscribe. Thank you so much. If you are new or it's your first time here, please hit the subscribe and help the channel grow. I appreciate you all for being here and participating and commenting. But is there anything else that we didn't talk about, Will, that you want to get out there?
I got a couple of dates for shows that I wrote down on my piece of paper.
Let's talk about it.
All right. February 25th in Rochester, New York, this is actually the first show I've been on in my own town, besides the Theater of Brutalities. So this is my first time doing a show in my own city. So that's kind of exciting. All my family and friends can come check it out. February 25th, EWF. It's called My Bloody Valentine. I didn't come up with the name, but
good horror movie.
Yeah, I will be talent scouting, I suppose. I'm doing.
Oh, we lost him. Connection issues. I will. Oh, there he's back. There you go. You're good.
Yeah.
You said you'll be talent scouting?
Yep, and Shane Douglas will be there.
Okay. I just seen Shane not too long ago at a show. Him and Francine were there for the first time, I think, together.
We love Francine.
Francine looks great still. Looks amazing.
Of course. Why would she not look great? March 18th, True Wrestling Underground in Detroit. That will be a show I'll be at. We talked about that earlier. And May 27th in Toronto, the Death Proof Tournament. Those are the 3 dates I have booked right now. I'm really looking forward to the Toronto show because the Death Proof Company was kind of what got me into death matches. They do a show. It's like a bar show. They have a ring, but it's like in a bar, and it's just real anarchic, and everyone's Canadian, and everyone loves Canadians. So I mean, like, really, it was kind of like I've always wanted to work with Death Proof, and it was cool that they reached out to me, and I'm really looking forward to that.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Well, where can people find you on social media? I know the links are below, but put your stuff out so people can go follow you, so they can always stay up to date with you and find you at these shows.
All the wrestling stuff is on my wrestling account. I think it's High Pitch Will Management, but I'm gonna change it soon because there's some things that are gonna be changing. But
is High Pitch Eric? Did High Pitch Eric ever send you a cease and desist letter? Stop using the name.
No, but I feel like I kind of want to fight him for it. You know what I mean?
You should fight High Pitch Eric.
I want to fight him. He's bigger than I am, but I think I could take him.
I think he's big, but like just because you're big doesn't mean you're like stronger. You know what I mean? Just means you're fat.
Exactly. And I think we should have a fight. I think we should have a fight for the name.
I agree.
I think that's what I would like to do. No, I will fight him. But also I'm not really trying to keep that name, you know what I mean? It was just kind of given to me given to me by Rob Black, who's, like I said, stuck in the late 90s. So I'm kind of not billing myself as that. But I mean, if it pops
I appreciate that. But I think you bring more to the table than just your voice, you know?
Yeah, and it'll pop up on flyers, and I'm not going to say that's not what I go by, but I'm not selling it as that. And there'll be more to come, hopefully in the next couple of months, that will put that away anyways. So
yeah, put it to bed.
put it to
Well,
bed.
listen, I appreciate you coming on and hanging out.
Yes.
It was a blast. This was really, really fun. Like I said, some of my favorite interviews are the ones where I really don't know who the person that I'm sitting across from.
Yeah.
We're doing this Zoom style stuff. But listen, the door is always open. When your big announcement comes and you have more things going on and things are kicking off for you, please hit me up and let's do it again.
I'm going back to the pool. I'm going back to my steak and my pool. All right.
All
Goodbye.
right.
All
Take
right.
it easy. Thank you, everybody, for joining in on the ABJ podcast. If you are here, please hit that subscribe, hit those likes, and stick around. We will be back later on tonight at 7 o'clock for another interview. Donnie Bambino, another independent wrestler from the Northeast area who is really young in his career. We're going to talk a lot of fun things and maybe talk about some Italian mob movies. And then later on after that, I'll be doing a live watch along for NXT. So we have a lot of cool things to come. If you want to be a guest, check the link below and you can sign up. I'm always down to talk to musicians, bands, stand-up comedians. You got a cool story? Let's hear about it. The door is always open for ABJ Podcast. I just do a lot of wrestling interviews because that's the industry I'm in and I meet a lot of cool people. But always hit me up and let's talk about it. Links for my guests below, as well as a lot of independent wrestlers who could use your help right now due to injuries, or if you want to grab some cool ABJ merchandise. The I Heart ABJ t-shirt is killing it right now. So make sure you go grab that one. We're going to play you out with some Billy Trey, the Converse Kid. If you need any good music, hit him up. He made it for me. And here we go. We're out of here.